thought I'll get away from Middle East politics for a while and talk about overall economy and, well, politics in general, really. Because economy does get affected by politics and vice versa. Big news came out that Warren Buffett sold half of his Apple shares. He basically sold about $75 billion worth of stocks. And now he's sitting at, well, his company is sitting at pile of cash worth $277 billion. Here, we're gonna read a little bit this article. Warren Buffett sent shockwaves through the investing world over the weekend by slashing his Big Apple stake by half, causing the tech stock to crater on Monday amid the intensifying global sell-off. For those of you who don't know it, basically all the big companies, when they purchase or sell stocks, they actually have to disclose it. It doesn't happen that same day. So, because you may think right away, well, great, I'm gonna follow what someone like Warren Buffett doing, buy when he buys and sell when he sells. Well, it's not that easy because this is really only disclosed every quarter, which means you're gonna be behind 2, maybe even 3 months every time. So yeah, you won't be able to do exactly what he's doing. But like I said, because of the size of his company, every 3 months they have to disclose what they purchased, what they sold. And well, it's that time of the year, and his company disclosed that they basically sold a lot of stocks. Berkshire Hathaway disclosed in its earnings filing that its Apple holdings was valued at $84 billion at the end of the second quarter, indicating that Oracle of Omaha dumped a little more than 49% of the tech stock. Shares of Apple last dropped 4.8% on Monday after declining as much as 10% earlier. Global stock markets are on the brink of major correction triggered by concern of economic slowdown. The 93-year-old legendary investor has been on a massive selling spree, offloading more than $75 billion in equities in the second quarter and raising Berkshire cash pile to a whopping $277 billion, an all-time high for the conglomerate. Buffett also started selling his second biggest holding, Bank of America, in July. Well, what does it really mean? Well, it means that he thinks the markets are overvalued and he just can't find the place to put the cash to work for him. Right now, it's not that big of a deal because, just so you understand, he's not holding cash, really, like the article says. All that money is parked in the short-term bonds, which basically almost equivalent to cash because he can get rid of bonds anytime he wants and invest, like buy stocks. And right now bonds do pay close to 5% interest. But usually he likes holding money in stocks because, that's what he's been doing his whole life. But lately he just cannot find anything to buy. So, and instead of just simply keeping the cash and keeping the stocks, he's actually selling, which indicates that, in his opinion, the market is due for correction. And yes, if you look the last couple weeks, what's been happening, you can see that S&P 500 dropped, well, let's see from here, 7.5%. Today it did recover a little bit, but on Friday it would have been down 8.5%. And this is actually not that bad. Japan index dropped on Friday something like 12%, which is the worst performance since like 1987, I believe. So yeah, definitely something's happening. But it's interesting. Some this majority of stocks obviously falling. That's why the index is falling. But defense contractors stocks actually rising. If you search for, let's say, Lockheed Martin stock, that's a company that produces a lot of weapons. You can see it's actually since, well, for the last couple of weeks, it actually went up 13%. So something's happening. Somebody knows something. I don't know. All I can say is people have to be cautious. People have to think for themselves. Don't rely on government to take care of you, because that's what people in places like Venezuela and Cuba did, and didn't end very well for them. So you have to really take care of yourself and prepare, look after your finances, maybe buy some gold. That kind of stuff never drops, right? Because unlike fiat currency, like gold, it's limited by supply, and gold being used as money for thousands and thousands of years. And not only that, I mean, the reason that all those defense stocks going up makes me think, for example, that somebody thinks there might be a war brewing somewhere. And who knows? Even the World War II, as bad as it was, it never affected anyone in North America all that much, because back then they didn't have planes that could fly from Nazi Germany to US. They couldn't reach. But today the world has become a lot smaller. If there's going to be a war, believe me, it's going to affect everyone in North America as well. So my opinion is you do have to prepare a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. I mean, look at, what's the guy? Facebook guy, Mark Zuckerberg. The guy built himself $265 million bunker. Well, that's because he's worth, like, I don't know, what is it, $80 billion? Well, most people don't have that kind of money, obviously. But you can go and you can spend $1,000 and buy some essentials. Maybe I'll make another video about it, but yeah, like, it's not that hard. You can buy rice, for example. Rice doesn't go bad. It has to be a specific type. It has to be white rice. But yeah, you store it in a dry place and it lasts forever. And you can still cook it and eat it later down the road. It's not like you have to throw it out after 5 years, but it does last a very long time. And you can do the same thing with a lot of other things, like canned food, canned meat. As long as, for example, as long as the can is not broken, it can go 4 or 5 years past expiry date on the can. Which means if you buy something like Spam, which usually has shelf life of 3 years, like the expiry date on it, usually 3 years in the future. If you add another 5 years to it, well, that's 8 years for you. And you can, once it gets to the end, you can kind of eat it. You don't have to throw it out, and it's cheap. Yes, you can buy other things like frozen dried food and all that kind of stuff, but to be honest, the last couple of years it got very, very expensive. And again, makes me think, why? Who's buying it? Somebody must be buying it if it got so expensive. It literally went up in price like 4 or 5 times. You could buy a bucket, like a 5 gallon bucket, before for, like, I don't know, $50. Now it's like $250. Like, it's completely crazy. Well, for that kind of price, you can just buy some canned meat and you're good. Like I said, canned meat and rice will get you very, very far. And obviously you need some water, right? Because especially if you live in a city, I mean, people don't even think about it. the reason the water flows when you open it in your sink is because there's a water pressure. Well, the reason there is a water pressure is because there's a pump somewhere that uses electricity to pump that water. Guess what? If there is no electricity, there is no pressure, there is no water flowing. So having water, it's very important. Like human body, you can survive close to 30 days without food. You can survive 3 days without water. It's 3 days, that's it. And if you live in a city, a million people city, imagine there's no water. Where are you gonna get it? Because everyone else will be looking for it as well. So yeah, I think it's very important to be a little bit prepared, right? You don't need to go completely crazy. You don't need to build that foil hat and stuff, right? But to be a little bit prepared, have some water, some food, emergency supplies. Yeah, it's worth it. As one of my friends says, better be prepared, have it and don't need it, than need it and not have it. Anyway, that's all for now.